All they would say, Waterman or Jane. Well,
how many people are here from Eddystone? Raise your hand if you're from Eddystone. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Anna Johnson, council member for District 8, and today I would like to welcome you to our roundtable discussion. What we're going to talk about today is the dirt roads and drainage in our District 8. And today we have with us the Public Works Department, Mr. Jim Neal, and also Mr. Armstrong from the Transportation Department. And we want to share some information with you about the new policy for Charleston County Public Roads.
My name is Jim Neal. I'm the Director of Public Works for Charleston County. I'm responsible for drainage. I'm responsible for the transportation of infrastructure on county roads. I'm responsible for stormwater and mosquito control. What I'd like to talk to you today about a little bit is our non-standard county road program, where we have changed a policy, County Council has changed a policy to allow us to make those roads that were called community roads, public roads, so that we can maintain them and improve them for the betterment of the folks that are here. In 1965, there was a policy that created community roads, but it had a lot of restrictions. And in December of last year, Council changed that policy to allow us to make those roads public as long as the people that live on those roads agree. The other part of that policy is changing our county road code to set up that standard for those roads, as well as directing the staff to take the necessary actions to make those roads part of the county maintenance system. What we're doing is we're notifying the public, and people should be getting a letter soon that explains what's happening, and asking them if they have any questions to contact the Public Works Department, and we'll answer their questions. We're also responding to those people's questions. We're doing surveys of all of those roads to determine exactly where they are so that we can then plat them. And we're also looking at their condition, surveying their condition so that we can make improvements to those roads. We're not necessarily going to pave those roads right away, but they'll be public roads, and we'll be able to do more improvements on those roads over time. And that's the purpose of that program. If there's any questions, please ask.
The drainage, it don't come no time soon, simply because when it rains, my district got trees in it. I'm not talking about little branches, I'm talking about big trees. And they have been maintained in, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 years. And, we pay the same taxes everybody else pays. We ought to get some kind of service out there. But I think when people say, come to county council or whatever, we on Waterman don't want that, they're not speaking for everybody on Waterman. They're speaking for their own group.
And that's you bring up a very good point, sir. And that's, if the road is public, and which council has said that these roads, it had to be a community road. In other words, this program is only for those roads that you've seen a motor grader on in the past year or so. Okay, so it had to be a community road to be part of this. If your road is still a private road and you want to make it public, we have a petition process, and you would contact Frank's office to do that. You can just call our number 202-7600, and we can do that. But for the most part, and most of the roads that we're talking about are the old community roads. This program that we're doing is to make them public so that we can do things like get the tree out of the ditch, make the ditch work, bring the road up so you can drive down, okay? That's important. As far as paving a road is concerned, that's a whole different step process, okay? Again, as I stated, I don't have a lot of funding for this program. We don't have millions of dollars. We've got hundreds of dollars, and I've got motor graders and guys that can do the work. But we want to come in and try to do the things that you just said. Get rid of the trees that are in the ditch so the ditch works, make the road work. A county road that you're familiar with, Mr. Gilmore, is Botany Bay Road. We don't have any intention of paving Botany Bay Road, but we do maintain that road, I think, 2 to 3 times a week. A motor grader, because all the people going down to the state wildlife or whatever, the state facility down there, you know, they tear the road up, I have to come and fix it. That's okay. But we try to maintain that. For these non-standard roads, we want to make it so that we can, you know, you don't get stuck in the mud on your road. We've raised it up where we can. You know, but again, first we have to get everybody to say, yeah, we like this idea. We like this, because that's part of public policy for the students. Part of public policy is to get the input of the citizens. And then we try to make, you know, once it's public, then we can cut down that tree. Right. Because I have to follow all those rules.
Right.
So.
I just want to make sure that when they present this to county council, however they do it, if it's a few people that come from, you know, the county council, they're not speaking for everybody that lives on Waterman Law. You know, and so I think that's the consensus, that when they speak that we don't want this, I pay my tax, I want what everybody else wants.
When you say you're short on the resources, I mean, how much does it cost to pave per square foot or something a road?
We have 300 community roads. We did an estimate that it would cost about $150 million to pave those 300 roads. I don't have I mean, every road is different. I mean, we paved a very short road last year, and it cost about $90,000 or $100,000 for about 1/10 of a mile. So, but when you go to paved roads, some of those roads are in pretty bad shape, some of them are in pretty good shape, but that was just the estimate of the cost. So paving roads and maintaining roads is very expensive. There's a lot of things that have to go into that process. It's not just dump some rock and put some asphalt down. There's a lot of engineering that has to be done. And we've got some students here, and I would encourage them to pursue engineering if they're interested in that. Of course, that's Frank and I and our engineers, and Oscar is a professional, and Benjamin's a professional. So we're all saying to the students, get your education, become an engineer or scientist, and you can do that. So you can come to public meetings. Sir.
Well, I live on James Island myself, and Ben Road and Jeffrey Road, we've been trying to get this paved for over 20 years. I know personally myself, going to a lot of town hall meetings, talking to people, and they always say it's not enough funds for this person. One person might hinder us from getting the road because of an easement problem or something like that. All right. If we can't get it paved, why are we not getting the road scraped a lot more? Because like the lady over there said, her road she can't even hardly get out. I know, I live on Jeffrey Road. When it rains, it pours. And it's hard to come out there. A lot of us have nice cars. We've always got to get in front of and work. You know, it doesn't pay to get your car waxed like I did on Friday. And it rained. And here's $70 going down the drain because I have no pavement to get to my house. And the roads are only getting scraped once every 3 or 4 months. Matter of fact, the road just got scraped the other day for the first time in about 5 months. So if we can't get it paved, why can't we get it, you know?
So that's exactly what we're trying to do with this program.
Well, I just want to throw that.
Now that since it's a public road, we can come more often. The rules that we had to work with under the community road program were very strict in that we could only, blade the road. We couldn't add gravel. We couldn't trim the trees. All we could do was as a service because it wasn't a public road. Now that it's a public road, before council said this is a public road, we're going to try to get out there more often. I only got 8 operational motor graders right now. So, we're not going to get there as often as we can, and I've got over 100 miles from north to south of the county. So we've got an awful lot of roads that we grade.
I do understand exactly
But
what you're
certainly,
saying.
if you have problems, call us. We'll put in a work order. We'll get somebody out there just as soon as we can. But we do have to check to make sure that the roads are in the system. 202-7600. Probably talk to a lady named Ruth, and she'll take your information.
I'm just saying it's been a 20-year process that I know personally.
And on James Island, we had some, the town came in, went out, and so we had some of those things going on.
Still paying the tax.
Yes, sir.
My mom's elderly, and we live in front of a horse pasture, and cufflies attacks us when we come outside. What can we do? I mean, what could you do? What time does the spray man come out?
Okay, spraying for mosquitoes we're responsible for mosquito control. And if you have mosquito problems, you need to call us at our mosquito control number, which is 202-7880. You can call the 7600 number and it'll get there, but the direct number to mosquito control is 202-7880. Okay? We have a vector control system that takes, we input the information for where people are complaining about mosquitoes, our mosquito counts that we have a number of mosquito traps throughout the county, and we've been spraying every night from midnight till 8 in the morning for the past 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. We've flown 2 aircraft missions, one on James Island, one up in the north at McClellanville, South Santee. We had a really bad winter. It didn't get cold, so it didn't kill off the mosquitoes like we normally get to kill off. And we've had more mosquitoes in March this year than we generally have in August and September, which is historically our big months of mosquitoes. But if you call, we will come and spray. But as far as other vectors, like horse flies and no-see-ums, we don't specifically target them. The things that we use to kill mosquitoes will kill other bugs, but we try to, well, we're responsible, and our permit says we only try to kill mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are out mostly at night. Bees fly during the day, and we do not want to kill the bees, especially the honeybees. So we stop spraying about 8 o'clock every morning, because about 9 o'clock is when we start to see honeybees coming out. So we don't want to kill those. If you're having problems with your neighbors, in certain areas there's a livability code
Ordinance now. We're just going to say, if you would just fill out one of those forms, Marie, please give her one to let us know the complaint and where it is, and then we can address that another way.
But that's not, mosquito control doesn't kill horseflies. Unless they're flying around at night next to the mosquitoes. But it's
every day, it seems like it's more and more. And I mean, you be driving down the highway and they stole on your car.
Yeah, that sounds like a DHEC problem to me, but anyway.
I don't
Seems like, I could be wrong, but it seems like in a training session a few years ago, I heard that the county will provide a certain kind of fish or something?
Yes,
That,
absolutely.
that
It's
takes
called
care.
mosquito fish.
Yeah.
And if you have a pond or an area that has a lot of water in it most of the time, our inspectors will come out, deposit some of those fish in that water. They eat the mosquito larvae. And we have a tank that we keep them in. That works very, very well. Unfortunately, most mosquitoes are hatched in your backyard. I mean, we do have a problem with salt marsh mosquitoes, but if you live away from the salt marsh, if you live in the inland areas, most of those mosquitoes are growing in your backyard. And we try to even go door to door to tell people, if you've got a bucket of water sitting outside for 3 days, a week later, you've got a bucket full of mosquitoes. And one little bucket can produce enough mosquitoes to run you out of your house. Millions of mosquitoes can come from just a bucket of water. So, go in your backyards and look for things that have standing water and dump them out. That really helps.
Well, maybe at this time,
I have a question. I know y'all talking about the trees, But coming out of our churchyard, there's a big tree, and you gotta come all the way out, because we live, church is on a curve, come all the way out in order to see a car. And I drive a truck, and it's hard for me to see around that tree. So I don't know what you can do about the tree, but except cutting it down. Because, I mean, it's hard for anybody to come out the driveway, especially a short woman, come out with a car. I drive a truck, I'm short, but I drive a truck. And it's hard for me to see around the tree. And they come down that road like they're on the interstate.
Give us the information for the address, the location of the tree,
Okay.
and who to contact, and if we will at least look at the problem. I cannot tell you that I'm going to cut down that tree, because there are people who would shoot me if I cut down some trees, but.
I'll the pastor of that church. I'm the pastor of that church.
Just let us know, we can come out and, look, maybe there's something we can
You
do.
got 2 trees, and it's on a blind side. I mean, people have hit that tree over and over. They've had wrecks over and over. And somebody, I'm on the land planning committee and woman also, but somebody said, save the tree, let the people hit the tree. To me, that's really ignorant on the part of a human being, that the tree is worth more than a human being's life. I mean, the tree can grow back. We only got this one life. And so, I understand that you may get in trouble, but I'm on that land planning committee, they might impeach me, but I'm shooting for all those trees in the middle of the road, even though it's county estate stuff. That need to come out of there. You got trees, I mean, you got strangers that got a guy got killed over there a couple months ago. It was from Charleston. And all he did was just pass a car, but the tree is in the road. And there's no way he could miss a tree. I mean, he got killed instantly. And somebody said, well, he was driving too fast. They don't know how fast he was driving. You can drive 10 miles per hour and hit that tree because it's in the road. They try to line around him.
Well, we'll have someone.
I know it's not.
We'll have somebody look
Not
at it
about
and
Rocky
talk
Hall.
to the state.
It's not about Rocky Hall. The guy got hit, got killed. You can see all the stuff still in the road from that happening. And it's a problem. People talking about the tree. Yeah, I love trees too. But at the same time, some of those trees need to move out of the way. Out of the road. They're too big. I mean, we got people that won't complain. We got tractor trailers that are hitting those trees and the limb is hanging down, and you come by and can't see that night, and your windshield is going, you could be killed.
You gonna save the tree with a live, no way.
I know it's county, I know it's not county. I mean, it's county, not state. I mean, state, not county, but at the same time, we need to get some of the trees. And you're gonna have opposition. I can tell you now, you're gonna have opposition, but a squeaky wheel get attention, and I'm gonna be the squeaky wheel.
But I want to add on to that, if you do see anything going on with the trees, the limbs are hanging down real low, it's touching your truck or vehicle, then you do need to call in and report that. Because if you don't report it, the state or whoever owns the road, if they don't know it, there's no liability. If you call it in, guess what? They got to do something about it. Okay, and let me give you the state's number.
Okay.
So you don't have to keep calling Mr. Neal's office here. 740-1655. 740-1655. That's if you live or have a complaint about a state road.
Somebody asked about how do you tell if you live on a state road?
Right.
If there's a road sign, road name sign like Old Jacksonboro Road, if it's a state road, it'll have a number that'll say SR and then a number. SR 144, SR whatever. That tells you it's a state road. If it's a county road, today it doesn't have a number, but it will have, but it's going to have a CR. It's going to have a CR. But it'll be a blue sign if it's a private road. That's what the new ordinance is. So private roads, we're in the process of switching over. So if you don't know if you're on a public road or a private road, if you got a blue sign at the head of your road, it's a private road. If it's green, it's public. And if it's a green sign with SR on it, it's a state road.
Or it might just have S.
It might have S,
S-10.
but it'll have an S. And a county will have a CR. But we haven't.
It's not there yet, because I've been looking at my sign on Annabelle Road, and there's nothing there. I look all over that sign, there's nothing. Nothing on that sign.
Probably everybody here lives on highways. who handles how close a tree can be beside a highway? And the other one is, on Jones Island, there's speed bumps, you know, when you run off the side of the highway, there's little bumps? Not on 111. I put in a concern to the,
That's a good question. The state puts the rumble strips, the audible strips on the side of the road, the white, I think they're white reflectors. They have a program, I believe, and I don't know what their progress is on their program, but I believe they're trying to do that. In the county, we don't do that on county roads. But if you live on, say, a state road, you know, a paved highway, if it has stripes down the middle of the road, it's probably a state highway. Maybank Highway, and I believe the state has a program, and they have some funding to do that throughout the state, but I don't know, you know, you're probably scheduled, but if I know the state, it might be 2015, I just don't know. Because I have the same issues, you know, with that, but as far as the trees are tricky in Charleston County, I will tell you. Because you have people that say we should never cut down any tree. Right. And then we have people that are, you know, that Frank and I, the engineers, say there ought to be 100 feet between the highway and a tree. Amen. But I lose that battle. So what I try to do is put reflectors on trees, try to keep the trees. We try to do root pruning. On county roads, I try to keep the vegetation. I have the county ordinance for roads allows me to establish a 15-foot high box for which we keep vegetation free from the edge of the pavement up or edge of the road. So we try very hard to do that. These new public roads, we're going to try very hard to reduce some of the vegetation coming in, because, you know, when that happens, it keeps more moisture on the road, which makes the road softer, and it doesn't dry out, so and that makes it more difficult. So we're trying very hard to do that on these new roads, but it will take us some time. It'll take us the rest of this year just to get through a couple of times. We're also trying some other techniques, but thank you very much for that.
I'm curious to find out what happened. I've been fighting for this issue since 1980-81. Charleston County, and everybody knows me on a first name basis. They may say I'm radical, which is fine. Doesn't matter to me. But what I'm curious about is, it started back so many years ago. I've spoken to Mr. Curtis Navinet. I've spoken to Mr. Herbie Darby, Mark Kane, Mr. Ferret, on down the line, even Teddy Pryor. I was at a county council meeting several years ago. It may have been maybe 2 or 3 years ago. And they were naming the roads that would be paved. And when Herbie Darby pulled up the list that afternoon, he said the second name on that road, on that list that would be paved, would be Almond Road on Waterloo Island. But there was an elderly woman that lived on Johns Island who had a pothole in the middle of her road. So they had to do her road first. And after that, then Almond Road would be the second road to be paved. 5 or 6 years ago, here we are down the line and the road have not yet been paved. I'm hearing about money. There's a problem with money. It's expensive to have the road paved. Tourists coming in, but they want to see a dirt road. Watch TV, comes on Cowboy. So I don't think we should have to stretch out to the tourists, because we're human beings. We pay taxes like everybody else. I think it's time for us to wake up. It's time for us to start shaking up some stuff, because we pay. So I'm curious, at the last meeting, and I have it documented at home, when Mr. Herbie Darby read the list, he said that day Almond Road was the second road to be paved. So then nothing happened. They said you got to go out and get petitions. I've sent in 5 petitions. I've already spoken to Mark King. So I'm curious, what happened if the list said those roads were going to be paved and they're not yet paved? Almond Road, what happened? I'm just curious to know. Can anyone answer my question? Anybody from the board?
I can answer your question. Almond Road is on the list of. Almond Road was a community road. Okay. So today, as of December 6th, it's now a public road. That's when you should have, if you haven't gotten a letter, you should be receiving a letter shortly explaining that it's now a non-standard road. but you had a petition, and it was signed. There were a number of people that were talking, you know, that all indicated they wanted to have the road paved.
Yes.
And that's on what we call the county road improvement list, okay? Every year we put forth roads to be improved. It's a competitive process. Because of the limited amount of funds every year available for roads to be improved, it has to go through a competitive process. And Armin Road scored slightly less than one or two other roads. I don't have the list with me, but I could certainly share that with you later. I don't remember the number one road, but I think it was Campbell Plantation Road. And that road was approved on the list. The next set of criteria is coming up, and that will be, again, a competitive environment. And what happens is you have to compete against not only other county roads, but roads within the city of Charleston, North Charleston, Mount Pleasant, Ravenel, Hollywood, Meggett. So if they all put forward one road and there's only enough money to do 3 or 4, sometimes I don't get funded for my county roads. We're trying very hard, and Armin Road is since it's now a public road, which puts that in a different category for consideration, gets more points, if you will. I think there's a higher likelihood in the upcoming funding cycles that road will be paved. Certainly, we'll be spending some time trying to do some work on it. I know there's a kink in your road. We've talked to the landowner. He'd like to make that go straight back. I've been working on Armin Road with Benjamin and John for a long time.
Over 20-something years.
But again, Armin Road is a fairly long road for what was a community road. Now that it's a public road, I think it'll be a much sooner.
Okay.
But again, I cannot promise you that I can't promise you that Armin Road's going to be on next year's list. But I can tell you that we will do everything we can to make it competitive, and in the meantime, we will do things to improve the road so that it's not got boggy places, it stays crowned better and gets maintained more often.
Okay, I was just curious because I've noticed that there are houses, maybe 3 or 4 houses on the road, and all of a sudden you go by that road and that road is paved. And we've been fighting for this for umpteen years now. So you said there is that Armin Road is on the list to be paved.
It is on the list that we submit for
I understand
competition.
the submission, yes I do.
So it's not on the list to be paved, but it is on the list that I and the Public Works put that on the list. Okay? I believe Campbell Plantation was first and Armin was second or third. When it goes up to compete, it's got to compete against the roads in Charleston, Mount Pleasant. So sometimes Charleston gets one road, I get one road, North Charleston gets one road, and the money just ran out. Sometimes Ravenel and Hollywood will get a road, and I don't get a road that year, and that's happened a couple times. But that's just because the funding isn't there. But I believe, it's a competitive and it's an objective criteria that it's evaluated on.
And who determines that, sir?
County Council came up with the criteria.
County Council.
They developed the scoring mechanism
Okay.
with the Transportation Sales Tax Office and the engineers on their staff. They said this is an objective set of criteria to evaluate roads by. And then
Could you share some of those things that you look at so she would know?
length of the road, public or private, is it got it right away? And that's where Armin Road wasn't doing as well, but now it will do much better. Number of citizens that live on the road, access. Is it used by the school? Does the school bus come down there as a place, does it have that kind of access? I think there's is there flooding problems on the road?
Yes.
Number of citizens impacted. So those are some of the criteria. And again, I believe the criteria may be on
Okay, we certainly want to thank
Cut them trees down.
Thank you to the students here for, I want to thank the students for being so tentative here. Y'all don't have any questions to ask us? Not one question? Do we have anybody that lives on a dirt road, any of the students? You live on a dirt road? Okay. Anybody else? 2 students. And so have y'all had problems getting in and out?
We do, but
Okay.
we have an SUV, so.
So you're in the SUV?
Cars do have problems.
Okay, but you heard some things today that you feel like might be helpful to get some service?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, all right, well, I certainly thank you, and all minds and hearts are clear. Well,
The next time I would like for them to mention Eddie Stowe Island. All they would say Wadman or James.
well, how many people are here from Eddie Stowe? Raise your hand if you're from Eddie
Eddie
Stowe.
Stowe. Mention
Okay.
Eddie Stowe in the next
Okay,
meeting. Thank you.
all right.
You mentioned Wadman Law for me.
Thank you.